Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the One Fan Power Trip podcast. My name is Brian Sloan, and I'm here to talk about Fastlane today. So, before we get into Fastlane, I just want to say that WWE Network has been on Peacock for about a week now, and already we've hit our first bit of controversy. That being that they're censoring old WWE events, which, hey, I don't condone the actions that they're cutting out. For example, Roddy Piper's match with Bad News Brown at WrestleMania 6 and a spot from Survivor Series 2005 where Vince McMahon uses the N word and whatnot. But that's not the point of the WWE Network. The point of the WWE Network was to be a time capsule and an archive of old classic WWE events and whatnot. And it was sold to us with the idea that it would be uncut, uncensored, that we're paying a subscription for this, and that we should get the events in full. That's what was sold to us. That's what was told to us by WWE. Oh, our whole catalog is heading over to Peacock. It won't be touched. Don't worry, you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to miss anything. And all of a sudden, not even a full week into the move, WrestleMania 6 is 15 minutes shorter. Survivor Series 2005 is missing a segment. Like, I don't disagree that these segments should not have happened in the first place, but I am paying a subscription for this stuff to get the catalog in full. And I mean, I don't agree with the content that these segments contained, but at the same point, like, I'm paying for this. Like, put up a disclaimer. Even have me enter a second password, to say, hey, parental advisory or disclaimer saying, you know, antiquated views or whatever the disclaimer would be. Do you want to continue? Let me put in my PIN code or passcode that I want to watch this stuff. I'm an adult. I can make my decisions. Just pisses me off that, you know, for 5, 6 years, I was watching WWE Network. All this content was there, no issues. As soon as it goes to another source, immediately edited, cut up, chopped up, changed, manipulated. You know, they started to act black frames into all the events so they could insert their commercial breaks. Now, I mean, luckily they don't do that in the middle of matches, so that's a plus that they wait for segment breaks or whatnot on pay-per-view events at least. So, that's not an issue that I can watch I can watch an old pay-per-view like WrestleMania 8 or whatever and okay, after this match where it would have gone straight to the interview, there's a little black pause and then it goes straight to the interview. I mean, that's meaningless. That's insignificant. I pay for a tier with no commercial breaks, so I just get the black frame and then it continues on with the show. If you didn't pay for that tier, they'd put a commercial break in that spot so you'd see a little commercial, but fine. That's one thing, but at least the whole content is there. Now you're cutting down shows, you know. I mean, it's it's wrestling. This isn't highbrow entertainment, This isn't sophisticated stuff. This is pro wrestling. It's made to be this outlandish, garish, somewhat offensive, form of entertainment. It's two guys pretending to fight. You know, you're going to have a good guy, you're going to have a bad guy. The bad guy's going to do crazy, stupid things. But, anyways, Peacock aside, we knew this was going to happen, and it did. It just annoys me that, as somebody who likes to watch the whole event from start to finish, that they're cutting out segments, they're changing stuff. I don't even like the fact that stuff on the pre-show isn't necessarily with the event. It's irked me since 1996 that the WWF Tag Title match that was on the pre-show for WrestleMania 12 is nowhere to be found with the event. I can't find that match outside of YouTube or whatever anywhere on a DVD or any other official WWE media that I can go back and put in, WrestleMania 12 and sit there and watch the pre-show tag match and then the event in full. That bothers me. I didn't like when, you know, WrestleMania 33 came out on Blu-ray or DVD and it didn't have the pre-show on it, in at least in America. I think in other territories, in other countries around the world, they had DVD versions or Blu-ray versions that had the pre-show, but those 3 or 4 matches that were on the pre-show for WrestleMania 33, I don't have those unless I go and dig through the WWE network for WrestleMania 33 kickoff, and maybe I can figure out, where that show is. But if I just go to WrestleMania 33 itself, I don't get those matches. That annoys me too. But at least they're maybe there somewhere. I could find them in the archive, whatever, as a separate media. But that bothers me that the whole presentation of the event isn't together. And so if Peacock is going into the middle of the actual event and taking stuff out, even if it's bad stuff that shouldn't have been there in the first place, it shouldn't have been done in the first place, you know, this is supposed to be an archive and a time capsule. And it's one thing if you want to put it behind a disclaimer or a password or make it harder to access because it's wrong or it's inappropriate. Fine, go be it. Go do it. But I disagree. I disagree. I disagree. Because where are you going to draw the line? ECW had some really controversial storylines. You know, that's part of what made it a cult classic hit in the mid 90s. Like, hey, look at this guy getting crucified. Everybody's spoken out about it, said how much they, liked or disliked that angle. I don't condone the religious, aspects of it. You want to crucify somebody, you don't need to do that. But that's what they did, and it was shocking and appalling, and it brought out the crowd reaction the way they wanted. Now, is that show going to be edited on Peacock? I don't know. Maybe. Is somebody going to throw up a white, throw up a flag and say, hey, we can't have that here? Well, it was on the WWE network. People in other countries can watch it. Why can't I watch it? That's not fair to me. And I'm paying for this service. So maybe I should stop paying for it, but then I lose everything. I don't want to lose everything. So I have to settle with the censorship. I mean, it's just not fair. It's just not right. But I digress. I know a lot of people out there on social medias and stuff are saying, "Oh, big deal. You don't get a bad match that was on WrestleMania 6, which was a terrible WrestleMania anyways." Yeah, maybe so, but whatever. And other people are like, "Oh, I can't believe you're defending the racist stuff." I'm not defending the racist stuff. Make that very clear. I don't think that segment should have been there in the first place, but it is there and in the record books. So if I go back and I'm looking at WrestleMania 6 on Wikipedia or online or whatever, I see that Roddy Piper fought Bad News Brown at this event. I used to be able to watch that match, and now I can't. And, sometimes if I just want to click on a thing and just watch it, I just want to watch it. I don't want to dig for the DVD that I have maybe buried somewhere in my attic or whatnot. That's all I'm saying. Again, I don't condone the material that they're taking out, but the idea that they're taking stuff out of shows is bothersome when I was told explicitly everything from the network is moving over to Peacock. This is a full like these are archives and stuff that I don't feel, if I'm watching WrestleMania 6, I should be able to watch WrestleMania 6, the full event. That's just my 2 cents. Disagree with me. I can see different viewpoints to this, but As a completionist, I just can't get over the idea that I'm now losing content that I'm paying for. Anyways, on to the real topic of today. Fastlane happened on Sunday. The final stop on the road to WrestleMania. We get some decent matches, slightly predictable. All in all, a pretty decent show. I'm going to go through the highlights, the high points, the low points for me with the show. So the first match of the night on the kickoff was the U.S. Championship match between Riddle and Ali. This is a fun match. I really like Riddle. I really like Ali. Hate Retribution. I think those characters are bad. I think the gimmick doesn't work. This match was really fun. They went back and forth, 9-ish minutes. It was really good. I really enjoy the work of Ali. I really enjoy the work of Riddle. Um, the idea that Riddle had to get on the second rope to give his finisher to Ali to put him down was fantastic. Yeah, I really dug this match. This match was a lot of fun, very back and forth, a lot of action. Got to see all the good moves. I really love Riddle, so I was pretty content with this opener. It was a very nice match, very very nice match. Um, at the end of the match, Ali flips out on Retribution, starts yelling at all the members of Retribution and telling them off. Oh, you didn't help me. Why? What are you doing? What are you? Why didn't you help me? All this nonsense. And then Retribution, starts walking away. At the end, Mason T-Bar hit a choke slam on him. And is that the end of Retribution? I hope so. I really hope so. Um, I mean, the individual talent in the group is pretty good, and the group is doing them no service. It's a big disservice to the careers of the people in the group. From a fan standpoint, I just don't like. I don't like Retribution. They never did anything meaningful. They didn't do anything for me. Their presence was not established the way it should have been. They never won anything. I mean, when was the last time they won a match? When did they ever win a match? Outside of maybe a meaningless match on Raw, like they didn't. They came in, they caused havoc. Then they lose matches. They went nowhere. They did nothing. If this is the breakup for them, good, because I'd rather see Dijakovic and Ali and Mia Yim and the other guys do their own thing. Like, I mean, you can make them better characters by themselves, I would imagine. So I hope that's the end of Retribution. And if it's not, I hope it leads to a match at WrestleMania where that's the end of Retribution. But regardless, it was a fun match. Glad Riddle retained his US title. Kind of figured he would. It was his first title defense. But all in all, a good match. Great opener for the matches on the night, even though it was on the kickoff show. We go into the actual pay-per-view. First match is women's tag title match with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Now, I very much dislike Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I don't like them as a tag team. I don't care for Nia Jax at all. Shayna's fine. Her matches are good. I like her matches. She's physical, strong, good. This match was garbage though. And I hate being negative because the one of the reasons behind this podcast is to celebrate my fandom and talk about my enjoyment of pro wrestling. But this match was garbage. I mean, the action was so. The ending came when Bianca Belair got hit by Nia Jax and fell onto Sasha Banks and broke up the bank statement and led to an argument that led to Shayna rolling up Sasha for the win. I mean, all throughout the match, Shayna and Nia were bickering with each other, and Sasha and Bianca were bickering with each other. I don't know where this Shayna and Nia thing is going, but it should go there soon. and they should move on to something else. I do not care for the women tag title. I do not care for that team. You know, I the story of Bianca and Sasha heading into WrestleMania has been bad. Reginald's there for some reason. I don't know or care why. He originally came out with Carmella. I don't know what happened to Carmella. She disappeared off the face of the earth. Now he's with Nia, interfering with Sasha and whatnot. I mean, it just there's just people there doing random things. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. This match sucked. It was a waste of time. And at the end, you had Sasha and Bianca bickering about losing the match, interfering with each other. Sasha had an awesome slap across Bianca's face, knocked her eyelashes off or loose, you know, called her a rookie a bunch of times, which, all right, fine. But that's not the story I want to see these two tell. I don't, it's just, it looks bad, you know, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen? Either at WrestleMania, either Sasha's going to beat Bianca Belair, which will just ruin Belair's momentum. I mean, this is like what happened to Rhea Ripley last year, losing to Charlotte Flair. Like, Bianca Belair's on a roll. If she doesn't win this match, what's next? She just falls back in line, or she gets lost in the shuffle, or, you know, you end up wasting more time until she gets back to the title. I mean, that's a waste. That's a bad finish. And then if you have Bianca beat Sasha, then what? Sasha looks like a chump for losing to a rookie that you've established as a rookie. I mean, Bianca got slapped in the face, and Sasha's taunting her from the aisleway. And what does Bianca do? She holds her face and she points at the WrestleMania sign, saying, "Okay, I'll get you at WrestleMania," or whatever. Like, Sasha's right there. Like, why don't you look at Sasha? Why don't you chase after Sasha? Why don't you attack her in the aisleway or try? You know? No, you just stand there like, "Oh, she slapped me. I'll get you at WrestleMania." Why? She's right there. You don't need to wait till WrestleMania. You can run into the aisleway and jump her. Maybe. I mean, have a little brawl. Make it mean something. Make it so that Bianca looks like a credible opponent. But they didn't do that. At least not in this case. So, hey, it is what it is. Next up on Fastlane was the Intercontinental title match between Big E and Apollo Crews. Now, this match started out really well. I really enjoyed the spear immediately to the outside by Big E that he did on Apollo. So that started out good. Then it just became a regular, you know, Big E Apollo Crews match that we've seen way too many of. Um, they didn't do anything spectacular after that spear, really. Um, Apollo has a new character now, or recently, which I love. I love that he's, a personality now. What was Apollo before? Just a happy-go-lucky guy that wanted opportunities, and that wasn't anything. So now that he's actually a definable person is great. The fact that he's playing up his heritage as a Nigerian, as a proud Nigerian, you know, taking his stand, trying to get what he wants. I'm all for it. It makes Apollo real, somebody I can actually relate to, get some rapport with as I see him on TV more times. But he's wrestled for the Intercontinental title too many times. He lost this match, and the big thing about this match is that they screwed up the ending. You know, they were moving around. Big E gets a late bridge to make sure he gets the win. I mean, the whole 3 count was a fiasco. Just came off really poor, and this match was short. There was nothing to the match. It was 5 minutes. I mean, there was nothing there. Big E retained his IC title, which is good, leading into WrestleMania, where he probably fight Apollo again, or maybe multiple people with Apollo being one of the people. But this match was a time filler waste. I mean, it didn't do anything. It didn't accomplish anything. Big E won, so it just hurt Apollo more because Apollo just got beat again for the title. After the match, Apollo had a great beatdown. That was fun, but you know, big deal. He can beat down Big E when Big E's tired and not looking. I mean, anybody can do that. That's not great. Doesn't do anybody any service. So after that waste of time, you go to an Old Spice commercial with Drew Gulak, R-Truth, Tozawa, NXT guy Eric Bugenhausen playing Joe Average. I mean, I thought this was funny. I enjoyed this commercial. It was funny. Drew Gulak's looking for R-Truth, takes a takes an Old Spice sample, can't find R-Truth, leaves. R-Truth is hiding in the rack. There's a commotion. The Old Spice guy wins the belt. R-Truth takes it back. Tozawa's looking for R-Truth. He gets mad that the Old Spice guy won the title. I mean, it was fun. It was stupid comedy, but it was enjoyable. It was a little segment in between to break up the matches. So next up, we get the Braun Strowman match. So earlier in the night, they announced Shane McMahon has a knee injury. He may be able to compete. He might not be able to compete. He's in the back, coming out. He's got ice on his knees, on crutches. Elias comes up and asks to be on WrestleMania, wants to be on WrestleMania, give a musical performance that'll make Bad Bunny, embarrassed and upset. And Shane goes, "Oh, I might have an opportunity for you." And then later on in the night, we get to the Braun Strowman match. And Elias is in the ring to give his musical performance to impress Shane McMahon to get to WrestleMania. And of course, Shane McMahon announces, as anybody could have seen coming from a mile away, "Hey, guess what, Elias? You get to fight Braun Strowman tonight, right now." And then Braun Strowman comes out, wrecks Elias, as we've seen multiple times before. This was a nice showcase of Braun Strowman being Braun Strowman. Seen it a billion times. Nothing new, nothing interesting. Um, you know, when this whole Shane McMahon Braun Strowman storyline was happening, I didn't care for it at all. I didn't care that Shane McMahon repeatedly called Braun Strowman stupid, the Stupid Express or whatever. It was just bad. And when I saw this match announced for Fastlane, I was like, oh, thank God it's not on WrestleMania. And then when we got to Fastlane and they pulled this stuff, I was like, oh, God. Now we're going to waste some more time with this thing. 3 more weeks until WrestleMania happens. We'll probably get a version of this on WrestleMania, which, ugh, even with 2 nights, I don't want to waste any time on Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon. You know, the idea that WrestleMania matches are being given to Shane McMahon is kind of is a waste. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed his matches. I enjoyed Shane versus The Miz at 35. I enjoyed Shane versus AJ Styles at 33. Although it bothers me that you know you're giving up a spot to have a match with Shane McMahon. Like, he's not there regularly for the most part. Now, some of those matches he was there regularly for the time being. So okay, fine. But I mean, he's not a regular wrestler. WrestleMania should be a time where even if you want to spotlight Shane McMahon, which you shouldn't, as an in-ring performer, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be taking spots away from the active roster for Shane McMahon. Celebrities are one thing, but we're talking Shane McMahon here. So, do not care for this match. I don't want to see it at WrestleMania 37. Thought it was going to happen tonight, which I would have been okay with because this event was essentially just to promote Peacock and test out the Peacock streaming system to make sure that WrestleMania goes off without a hitch. But yeah, this was a waste. So already 3 matches into the main card on the actual pay-per-view. And for my money's worth, you've had 3 wastes of times. So The show is starting out spectacularly. I did not care for the beginning of this show. Next up, after the Strowman match, we get Riddle backstage with Shinsuke Nakamura, and Riddle has now disagree with me if you want, but I really enjoyed Riddle pitching his scooter idea and then going off on his story about Skeeter and the skate park and the scooter. I thought that was funny. You know, again, I like Riddle, the on-screen character. I don't know Riddle outside, but again, I like Riddle, the on-screen character. So I enjoyed this little promo of him rambling about the scooter. I enjoyed it. I enjoy it now. A few days later, I'll go back and watch it. But that's just me. I liked it. So, anyways, Riddle's giving this promo about starting a scooter business to Shinsuke, and he goes into this long rambling story about Skeeter at the skate park with his scooter. And Shinsuke, they zoom out at one point, and Shinsuke disappeared. So Riddle rides away, and then Shinsuke comes out from behind the wall. So that was fun. I enjoyed that. So next up, you get Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, I enjoyed this match. It was really good. Yeah, I enjoy Seth Rollins as the annoying social media guy and how, doing all the obnoxious, annoying social media things, taking selfies, bragging about his posts, et cetera, et cetera. And I enjoyed this match where he's fighting with Nakamura, and it's really good. This is exactly the type of match I wanted from these two. It was a little slower, but Nakamura looked decent. Seth Rollins got a quality victory as it looks like he's going to go on to face Cesaro at WrestleMania. Now, that's a match I'm excited for. If I didn't subscribe to Peacock to watch WrestleMania, that is definitely an event that I would pay money to see, a Cesaro Seth Rollins match. Now, that should be a really good match, and I hope they do it justice at WrestleMania, and they don't just make it some other filler. But Seth Rollins got a good win. I enjoyed this match. One thing I noticed the other week on SmackDown, Natalya and Tamina came out and did some stuff with the women. And was it just me, or did Tamina wear Shinsuke's stuff? Like, is Tamina a female Shinsuke Nakamura? Like, she had the black and red leather pants, just like Shinsuke wear. Like, did they steal each other's gear? when did when did Shinsuke and Tamina become a team? like holy crap. Like, can't you get original gear? I mean, Shinsuke was wearing it first. Tamina should be able to get other gear than simply ripping off Shinsuke's look. But we never see Tamina, so it won't matter in the long run, which is fine. So, anyways, after the Seth Rollins Nakamura match, we get the history package for Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, which is awesome. I love seeing the old videos of Drew and Sheamus coming up in Ireland and Scotland, doing the indies there and growing together as longtime friends over 20 years and whatnot. It really set the stage very nicely. This is a very excellently produced video package highlighting the story of these two guys. And now they're going to go in a no holds barred match. This match was fantastic. I love this match. This is the type of match I wanted to see from these two guys. It was hard hitting. It was given plenty of time. It told a great story. They used weapons. They went up into the scaffolding for the monitors. Sheamus got thrown through monitors at one point. I mean, it was fantastic. If you're looking for a no holds barred fight to watch, this one between these two guys is the one to watch. I mean, they were brutal. The action was fantastic. I mean, this is what if you told me a no holds barred match between Drew and Sheamus, this is the type of match I was expecting. Drew came out with his Braveheart Scottish face paint, looked awesome. This was a great match. I really enjoyed this match. It really made Drew look very strong. Not that he needed it. I mean, he's already a multiple time world champion, but now that he's going on to WrestleMania to fight Lashley, I think that match is going to be spectacular too to headline night one of WrestleMania. I mean, that's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to Lashley McIntyre for the title. I mean, this was just a great showing by Sheamus, great showing by McIntyre. I'm excited. This was a fantastic match. Fantastic. If there's one match on this card you're going to seek out, I would say this one. This would be the one to watch more than the others. This is the match. Drew and Sheamus, no holds barred. It was the brawl that you would expect, and it delivered 100%. Next up, Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. Now, I was reading online some of the different reviews on different websites like Bleacher Report and other wrestling websites that do the reviews and the analysis and the star ratings and stuff. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, I can't give this a rating. This wasn't a real wrestling match." You know what? I wasn't expecting a real wrestling match from this thing. I was expecting an extension of the storyline between The Fiend and Randy Orton. That's exactly what it was. I was expecting the Fiend antics that we've been seeing in previous weeks. Before the match or segment really got started, Randy Orton had the black goo blood thing come out of his mouth and asked for a towel to wipe it away. That continued. That was good. I loved Alexa Bliss making the lighting thing fall, shooting the fireball at Randy, playing mind games and stuff. I mean, that was pretty good. That I enjoyed that, and when she shot the fireball at Randy Orton, and she did her little celebration thing in the corner. That was fun. That was fun. And then the Fiend came back, and oh man, now I understand the criticisms to the Fiend, but he came out through the mat. There was fire. He comes out and he's charred and melted, which is fantastic because if they didn't do that, it would just be a waste. I feel like if he just came back as a regular Fiend, I would have been disappointed. But now that he's a burned, charred, melted, disfigured Fiend, ah, love it. Love, love, love every minute of it. Um Now that doesn't mean I want to see it every week, but in this setting, this was fantastic. And then they got the win over Randy Orton. Um, you know, I I loved this segment. It fit with what I was expecting. Um, the Fiend returned, which was I was anticipating that. Um, yeah. So I mean, the Fiend hit his finisher. Alexa Bliss got the pin. I have no complaints with this segment. I really enjoy it. Now, where they go with this in the future, well, we can see. But for this moment, at this pay per view, I enjoyed it. I would give it a thumbs up if I was giving it ratings. But I'm not really rating it. I'm just saying that I liked it. So the idea that the Fiend returns and he's melted and charred, as opposed to just being the Fiend, is great. I loved how he came up through the mat. So I'm looking forward to whatever they do at WrestleMania, and hopefully Randy Orton gives a better performance than he did against Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 33 because that match was terrible. So a lot of people sit there and say Randy Orton's the greatest wrestler ever, but or maybe not ever, but like the epitome of pro wrestling. But like you know when he wants to, he's fantastic. But when he is in a program that doesn't hit, he is awful. I mean, the best way I can describe my feeling for watching Randy Orton now is almost like burnout or fatigue because I've seen him for like 20 years doing WWE things, and not all of it's been great, but in this situation, he was good. So hopefully that continues. And then on to the main event, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Edge on the outside as the special enforcer. This match was phenomenal. Another fantastic match. You had Daniel Bryan getting his shots in on Roman Reigns, working him around. He wasn't dominated by Roman. In many ways, he was the one hitting his shots the way he wanted and was getting a bunch of offense in. And, Daniel Bryan was playing the crowd like he always does. And I mean, Daniel owned this match. I mean, they had a really good match. The idea that Daniel Bryan had him set up in his finisher and that Roman was tapping is fantastic. I love that. I love that Jey Uso came out and made the save as he always does. You know, Roman hasn't won a clean match in I can't remember when, but this worked. This worked for me. I really enjoyed it. Edge is the outside special enforcer. I mean, he did what I expected him to do. He came in, he was reffing the match, seemed pretty good. Jey Uso kicked him in the face. You know, he gets back up. Daniel Bryan is fighting with Jey Uso, and Jey Uso swings a chair at him. Daniel Bryan knocks down Jey Uso, picks up the chair, swings the chair, hits Edge with the chair instead. And then he turns his focus back to Roman Reigns, gets Roman Reigns down, gets him in his finisher. Roman is tapping up. Edge doesn't pay attention or care. He picks up the chair, nails Daniel Bryan with the chair, nails Roman Reigns with the chair. Another referee comes out. Roman Reigns gets the victory. It looks like we're getting a three-way for WrestleMania between Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns and Edge. And I'm looking forward to that match. I think it'll be really good. I mean, this Roman Reigns Daniel Bryan match was fantastic. To add Edge into the thing is really good. It feels like we're going to have a new WWE Universal Champion after this WrestleMania. And this is the perfect way to get the belt off of Roman Reigns without making Roman Reigns lose. And if that's the case, so be it. I'm happy with Edge being Universal Champ. I'm happy with Daniel Bryan being Universal Champ. I'm excited to see where Edge goes out of this match. You know, but to headline Fastlane, this was fantastic. It did everything it should have done. It played out exactly how I expected it to play out. I knew as soon as they added Edge as special enforcer, he was going to get involved somehow. He was going to cost Daniel Bryan winning the belt. It played out really well. Jey Uso was great as usual, coming in, interfering, helping Roman get the victory. So, all in all, Fastlane ended very well. The last 3, 4 matches on the card were great, in my estimation. I loved Nakamura Rollins. I really loved Drew and Sheamus. I thoroughly enjoyed the segment that was Randy Orton and The Fiend slash Alexa Bliss. And I really liked, really liked the Edge, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, you know, main event. You knew Daniel Bryan wasn't going to win the title, but he wrestled an awesome match. The match was fantastic. It was like 30 minutes long. and it was entertaining the whole way through. Daniel Bryan was great the whole match. Roman Reigns squeaks out the victory after interference from Edge and Jey Uso. I mean, it was fantastic. For a 2021 WWE pay-per-view, I'd say overall this was good. I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the action on the second half of the show. The first half was garbage. Um, any redeeming elements from the first half of the show were quickly erased by the following segment. So up until the Nakamura match, I don't care for Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. I I like Big E and Apollo, but they've wrestled so many times, and Big E always wins that I'm tired of seeing that matchup. And the women's tag title match was just a mess. I mean, I don't see the Bianca Belair Sasha Banks match having the emphasis that it should. Both outcomes for that match will be negative. I mean, if Bianca wins, Sasha can not get damaged too much, but like it doesn't look good the way this has been executed. But that's just my thought. Overall, Fastlane, really great. Check out the Drew Sheamus No Holds Barred match. And I'll catch you next time on the One Fan Power Trip podcast.